Chris Williams, Chris Hassel. Two guys named Chris. Presented by Fairway Meat and Grocery. From the Channel Seed Studios, this is Iowa Everywhere.
Channel Seed. Seedsmanship at work.
Prime time. Two guys named Chris. Iowa Everywhere. My name is Chris Williams. He is Chris Hassel. We are presented by Fairway Meat and Grocery in the Channel Seed Studios. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing good. I feel like I can express my thoughts better this time of day compared to when I have just woken up in the morning. So I think that's one positive for us.
I was thinking about that, like in the mornings when we all we're all so rushed.
It's 8:30 a.m. Central Time.
Yeah,
I've woken up within the last hour, and there are days where it's really hard for me to find the words because I'm just waking up. But I'm raring and ready to go. I know you guys are smashed already. You and Van Wink are drinking.
No, we're not. But I am going to, since we're doing
Wait,
a PM
not
show.
Drinking? All right, there you go. See, you are drinking.
I'm drinking.
I haven't drank yet, but I'm going to.
Merry
What the
Christmas.
hell is that, Van Wink?
That's a
Jack and Coke?
it's a Manhattan, actually.
That is not a Manhattan.
It's actually the pre-mixed one that Williams gave me for my birthday.
Well, see, Van Wink, a Manhattan is supposed to be served up in more like a martini glass. We need to teach you some things.
Sorry.
These are my
Nobody
drinks.
Ball
I just drink my Steeple Ridge straight.
Yeah, but no, you don't. You just put it on ice. That's not.
Well, yeah, I don't put any of the sugars or any of that crap in it like you do. When
Well-
you got a great bourbon like Steeple Ridge, just drink it, baby. You don't need to do all that garbage.
I'm
to
not
it.
drinking anything. I'm going to go one more day without booze, and hopefully I can kick this cold finally, once and for all.
Still
tomorrow
got this
night
cold?
we're having our anniversary dinner. Yes.
What, are you just going to make your wife some of that Fairway meat that they sent you?
Oh, no. You think we're going to eat our anniversary dinner at home? No. That's you know us better than that. We're going out. Going out after work.
Well, I'm going to enjoy this Steeple Ridge bourbon. So we always do our cheers to the freaking weekend on our Thursday show. Mm-hmm. I'm going to do it right now. I got the Drake game. Well, I'm watching Larry Morgan right now over on ESPN Plus. Cheers to college basketball being back, baby. Cheers to that. Courtesy of our friends at Steeple Ridge.
Is that over on MC22, that game?
No, it's ESPN Plus now.
Okay.
I don't get MC22, so there's no way.
MC22! Wasn't Iowa State on MC22 when they opened up, the Iowa State men?
No, that was ESPN Plus.
People were sending me pictures of BJ Shaban on the call.
No, he does it for ESPN Plus now.
Do I sound hollow? Do I sound like more hollow than usual?
No, I think you sound fantastic.
Okay. All right.
I think you sound really well.
So the reason why we're recording
your lips look a little pink though.
Yeah, do you have lipstick on?
I have what's called pink lip. They do look pink. What's up with that?
I think it's because it's so dark in your office.
It's really weird. Now I'm kind of obsessing over it. So tomorrow there's workers coming in at like 8 a.m, and they're gonna. Apparently we have popcorn ceiling in this room, and they're gonna scrape that off, and then they're gonna repaint. So I was gonna have to do the show outside in my pool, and I didn't want to put people through that. Yeah, I didn't want people to.
Why couldn't you just be outside of the pool? Why did you have to be in it?
That's the only place I could go is in the pool. My wife told me I needed to go out there in the pool if I'm going to do it. So I didn't really want to do that. I know you guys would be jealous. So we're going to do the show tonight. This is Wednesday night. This is late for me, man. I mean, I'm usually in bed by 9:30 Eastern time, and we're going to be going to 10 o'clock Eastern time.
Well, it's your own doing, but it works out. It works out.
I can't quite figure out what Williams looks like tonight. He's got the Circus Sports flat bill hat. He's got glasses.
I purposely have the shadow too. I have pink eye.
Wait, I have pink lip and you have pink eye?
Yes, I have. I really do.
Which eye? Your left eye?
Yeah, it doesn't look too bad right now because I.
Let's see it. Take your glasses off and show us your eye.
But
Can you see?
Actually,
is it gunky?
Yeah, it is. But I got this little thing, and I keep going like this to it.
Well, okay, so we know how people get pink eye. How did you get it?
My daughter.
You were
Elise.
Did she have like projectile diarrhea at the dinner table, or?
You don't have to get pink eye from poop. You know that, right? Like that.
Well, so how'd you get it?
She has a cold, and she's had eye stuff, and I've been sleeping with her because she's not feeling well, and I know for a fact that that's how I got it.
Did you know that you can get herpes in your eyes, and that many people have herpes in their eyes?
How's that?
I don't really know how it all happens, other than I'm guessing fellatio. But my wife's good friend is an eye doctor, and when she was going through school, she told us about that. That like 50% of the people that she looks at their eyes, and there's herpes in their eyes. STDs
is it because they like
eyes.
Scratch their balls and then they touch their eyes?
I think it's just because everybody's going down on everybody. That's just what I think.
Two guys named Chris after dark.
I
know what's going to happen here.
Williams, I think you kind of look like this guy from South Park, Uncle Ned. Let's put Williams' face up there next to Uncle Ned. He's the guy that he has to talk with the thing in his neck because he's got throat cancer.
I even deliberately, I created a shadow over my eyes with my spotlight just because of this tonight. Dude, if you would have seen me 2 hours ago, it would have been absolute, just a calamity. It was so bad. But then my daughter had these drops. She had eye surgery last year. And she had these steroid drops sitting around, and I popped them in there right before the show, and it looks better now than it has for a long time. So we're good to go. Really funny comment by Patrick, who's watching on YouTube. He says, just imagine a first-time listener joining right now. We're talking about herpes in your eyes, going down on people.
Did you know that you can get herpes in your eyes before I told you that?
No, I didn't know that.
That's true, isn't it, Kristen? Yeah. Did you hear? She said it's true. I'm not making this stuff up. I don't make stuff up. People think I made up the story about the Van Winkles eating their own placentas. I didn't make it up, okay?
I want to appreciate I want to thank our friends at Channel Seed. We're in the Channel Seed studios as well. We have an announcement to make, and we're going to let Van Winkle do it via the visual word. Is that how you're going to do it? What does this mean? So this is a...
Oh, yeah. Van Wink sent out a real cryptic
This is
photo.
From the... I can tell you, this is from the 2011 Iowa State-Oklahoma State game. This is the night that the BCS ended. It was a Friday night. One Joe Tessitore was in Ames. Iowa State was like a 28, 30-point underdog. Shocks the world. Paul Rhodes goes crazy. He's on ESPN Game Day the next day.
Killed the BCS.
We killed the BCS over there at Iowa State. What is the significance of this photo, Matt?
So I didn't even know Van Wink at the time.
Yeah, no,
and there we were, right next to each other.
Yeah.
You were a student at the time?
Yeah, I was shooting highlights for ISU TV.
Were you with me yet?
No, this was before you.
Oh, okay.
I was 2012. I was with you, so right before.
And I'm shooting the game for WHO TV, and this is the overtime coin toss, right?
And this, yeah, the overtime coin toss. This would have been your last game covering the Cyclones, Hassel? Is that right?
That was the last time I was at Jack Trice Stadium. Yep.
Well, that's changed since then. Man, I've always wanted you to be able to come back and see all the changes.
Well, I'm happy to say that we are coming back. Coming back for the Learfield National broadcast next week.
He's back.
Iowa State hosting Texas, and Van Wink is going to be my stats and spotter in the booth.
Hey-o!
Reunited.
Guess who's back?
Can I
Back
wear
again.
these? Can I wear my glasses to be the stat guy?
What? Yeah, sure you can. You can do whatever you want, Van Wink.
I'm going to wear these.
We're paying him in everything.
I love it.
Fantastic.
You know, it's funny.
Your little sidekick the whole day.
In the group text with you and Williams, I didn't even think that Van Wink would be able to like leave his little baby and his wife and his other daughter.
I'm all in.
So I just said, "Hey, Williams, would you want to like come and be my stats guy?" And he's like, "I've got stuff to do. I've got work to do. There's no way I'm coming. That's ridiculous.
Honestly,
you would even ask me that."
Honestly, Chris, like, so you're being hyperbolic. I don't think I'd be any good at it. Matt's way better at me than stuff like that. He's a way better option.
So we'll have a tablet in front of Van Wink with the stat broadcast up. Sweet. Pass along pertinent stats. Let me know how far that punt was from the most famous punter in Ames. And away we go.
Let's do it. I'm in. Let's go.
This is fantastic. Well, what did you figure out on your flight? Did you get your flight figured out?
Yeah, I changed it to an earlier flight, so I'm going to get in earlier. So hopefully we can get some tours of the facilities.
Oh yeah, it's going to be a good day. We're going to be lined up. We're booked all day.
And you know what? Maybe it'll end up like that Oklahoma State game, the last one I went to. Texas, who's Texas playing this week? It's a game they should win, right? They're at TCU.
Yeah, they should.
They win that game. They're going to be top 7. They're going to be in the playoff chase. Maybe Iowa State knocks them out, just like they did against Oklahoma State.
Creighton is watching on YouTube. He would like to request you to take a picture with an Ames lager on the Amish glider.
Creighton's a buddy of mine.
That'll probably happen.
I can do that. I can get a picture of that.
That'll probably happen, yeah. Did you see you see the behind me there? That's the tiny bench
the glider.
I thought.
Oh, you're pointing like right at it too. That's a great shot.
I thought
it looks like it's on your fingertip.
Crystal Bloom sent it. But someone stepped up and said it was me. Steph Copley said, "I sent it to you in hopes that you'll just shut the hell up about the Amish glider." So you think that sending that to me is going to make me stop talking about the Amish glider? No chance. But I'm proud to put it in the background. You can also see right cute. Here, those are the placenta pills. So they're in the background. You know, adding to it.
I thought you downed all of those during the
show. We do have to pick all that stuff up and get it out of this room by tomorrow. So.
Oh, okay. Well, that's great.
And
I'm excited.
I'll get more information out there about how people can listen. I think the best place to listen would be the Varsity app. But what they try to do is like they'll try to black it out on local stations because they don't want people not going to their regular place, their regular Learfield announcers, which in this case is John Walters.
Yeah.
Walters going to be pissed, man. He's going to be pissed. I'm infringing on his territory.
He's really not. I talked to him at the basketball game the other night. He was happy that you were coming.
That's it? That's it? He just said he's happy? Yeah. Every time I'm back, I invite Walters to things. And he's like, "Oh, no, sorry, I'm going to be out of town this weekend."
Walters is aging on us. He doesn't go out as much as he used to. Once you get out of TV, you got to realize that. Once these guys get out of TV, your clock changes. Because all my friends that are in TV, they're like, "Hey, meet me at Cooney's at midnight." And like, well, I don't. The
same thing happened to me when I came down and started working at CBS and started doing Dayside. Because my whole career in Des Moines and at ESPN was you're working weekends and you're working late nights and you're up until 3, 4 in the morning. You can, when we were at WHO, we'd go out after the newscast. Keith just said it earlier today. He went out to Cooney's last night after the newscast. Now I'm in bed by 10 every night.
I really am excited for you to see Trice and just everything around it and just show you everything because it really is unrecognizable if that was the last time you've been there.
Yeah, because the last time I was there, that video board was very new.
That was like the first thing they did to the stadium. Mm-hmm. Was put that up.
So the other end zone was totally open. It had those those bleachers that they weren't even permanent. You could roll them out of there if they wanted to. And I remember the video board was it almost seemed out of place because it was so gigantic on that side of the field.
Yeah, it was like this small stadium and there's this giant board.
Well, and especially
hovering over
compared
it.
to the other video board on the south side, it looked like a postage stamp. And then there's this massive video board now.
The coolest part of everything they've done, Matt, I think, is the football facility now like towers over it, and it's got that Trice logo. It looks really neat. I'm anxious for you to see it. I think you'll really think it's pretty neat, especially, if that's the last memory you had. And it'll be a huge game. I'm guessing that game will be sold out. And
yeah, hopefully Iowa State and Texas take care of business this week.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Well, that's great. Your dad chimes in. Don's watching on Facebook. He says, I was there 2 years ago, and it still sucks.
Well, that's not true. He has not. He hasn't been to a game at Jack Trice Stadium in at least 35, probably 40 years. He is referencing that he drove by it.
Don,
on a street.
I think I speak for all of Cyclone Nation, Don, when I say you are not welcome. You have been too rude to us. Hey, if Don wants to go, I'll find him a ticket, but he has to wear an Iowa State shirt. If Don would like to come, he can stay in my camper, and I will get him so pissed drunk, he won't even be able to get up in the morning to go to the game.
I don't know. He's got plantar fasciitis. He says he can't leave the Scott County area.
Hey, check this out. Our commenter, Simon's going to be at the game, too. He hasn't been to a game for a while. Isn't he out in what, South Carolina?
North Carolina.
North Carolina?
Great guy.
Cool.
Met his boys down at one of the Florida Bowl games a couple years ago. Simon's one of my favorite guys who watches the show. All right, we appreciate that. That's going to be great. We'll talk about that a lot next week. Let's start with this Iowa State BYU game, and then we have a lot of this Iowa stuff to sift through. Another interesting Kirk Ferentz press conference this week. Keaton Slovis, the quarterback from BYU. Interesting turn of events here. Kalani Sitake says that he may not even play even if he's able. So this JUCO guy comes in. He threw 42 passes last week. I'm going to give you a hot take right now, Hassel. I'd actually rather Slovis play.
Really?
Well, this other guy, I watched their game today. He was like 26 of 42, but he can move.
How did they get their ass kicked so badly then if he looked decent?
So to be honest, they've got some injuries on the D-line. And it looks to me like they are struggling with the physicality of the Big 12 for the first year for a new team. That is my, mile-high view of this team. I've watched them play twice. But, my friend, Bloom gave me this stat today. BYU has only lost 3 night games at home in the last 30 years. Now, granted,
how many games have they played at night at home in the last 30 years?
I don't know. I don't have that aspect of the stat.
See, that's the next question you must ask. What if it's only like 9 games?
Okay, whatever. Point being, we know that it's damn hard to go west. That's where Midwest teams go to die. I'm still like, on paper, you look at these teams, you look at all the analytics, you watch them on tape. Iowa State's better. But it's still terrifying to go west. And you play at 9:15. This isn't like a 2:30 kickoff. Like your clock's all screwed up. There's the altitude. Yes, I think Iowa State will win. But, man, I am nervous about this game.
Well, sure. I can see you being nervous about it. I mean, it's the unknown. You haven't played there. It's going to be, I'm sure, rocking, sold out. They've got a great fan base. And you have this quarterback who was the number 1 JUCO in the country, according to several outlets. And if they saw enough from him in the last game, that's kind of worrisome because you really know what you have in Keaton Slovis. I mean, the guy's a journeyman. He's been around all over the place, and you probably feel good about what you can do against him. What's the line at? Is it still up to a touchdown?
Yeah, it got up to 7.5 in some spots. You know what the crazy part of me is on this game? The total, last I looked at Circa, was 40.
It's low.
Doesn't that seem crazy low?
Mm-hmm. I would have guessed at least mid-40s.
Wild. Yeah, so Matt just pulled it up. Yeah, 7.5 is what you're seeing as far as the total goes. I don't know. So, yeah, BYU, like, their front seven on defense last week in that game was just atrocious. Like, it was really, really horrible. I listened to Kalani Sitake after the game, and then I listened to his press conference this week. He's talking about playing red shirts. That's the thing with this quarterback now. I almost think that they're just riding with him, Chris, because it's the last 4 games, and he was talking about how it doesn't burn his year of eligibility. I almost think they were waiting for Slovis, or they were waiting to play this guy until the last 4 games. Like, I don't think Slovis is a story, to be honest. I think it's going to be this JUCO guy.
Well, how many games do they have left?
3 after this. So
what's
4.
their overall record? Aren't they going to make a bowl game?
If they got to win one of their last 3. They're in the same spot as Iowa State.
So they have more than that. I mean, you already played last week.
Mm-hmm.
Then you
can play
3 more games and a bowl game.
Well, maybe Slovis comes back in for that. I don't know.
So maybe he doesn't play the bowl game. Okay. I mean, they got West Virginia beat them 37-7 with this JUCO playing somewhat well. I saw West Virginia firsthand. They're okay. They're not that good. Iowa State should still be able to handle business.
I would agree.
And I think I launch into my kitchen refresh.
Let's do it.
Might as well.
Oh, God. My dad's talking shit to your dad on.
Oh, good.
Oh, boy.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
My dad says, tell Don Hassel to come to Iowa State, Jack Trice, so we can have 2 end zones so teams can score.
2 end zones. What does that mean? Do you know what he means?
He's talking shit about Iowa not being able to score. This is great. They're just going to go at it in the comments. Okay,
yeah, just
kitchen refresh. Kitchen
I like
refresh.
how your dad
Iowa.
has your mom's name in his name too. Renee Mike Williams.
That's what the older couples do on the Facebook. They share the Facebook page and then they just put their own deal. Kitchen refresh Iowa. Independently owned and operated. My buddies are. I can't wait to get my new kitchen done.
Have they started breaking ground on your kitchen yet?
They haven't, but I'm going to send you all sorts of pictures every day. I'm saving so much money because we've wanted new cabinets forever because ours look like they're really like old and kind of gross. But you don't have to replace the cabinets, Hassel. That's the great thing of it. Kitchen refresh, you spend like 30% of the money.
Cyclone Fanatic reminds us that bowl games don't count against eligibility.
So, thank you.
Yeah, there you go. Anywho, as they go back and forth and someone says that Renee loves the Cox, my kitchen refresh is that Iowa State needs to jump all over BYU, okay? This is a bad team. They're not good. They've just had their asses handed to them and shoved down their throats the last 2 games. Van Wink, pull up BYU's schedule again. See what they've done the last few weeks. I mean, what have they scored?
They got killed by Texas, and they got killed by West Virginia the last 2 weeks.
Last week it was 37-7. The week before it was 35-6.
Yeah, and look what happened the week before. Night game against Texas Tech, home.
Yeah, they win. They lost at TCU 44-11.
And then they beat Cincinnati night game at home.
Clearly it's a different team at home.
Yes.
They're not that bad at home. But
correct.
They're still not that good. And Iowa State can't be fooling around. Stop your fiddling around. As you mentioned on Monday, enough with you trying to impose your will with the running game to start the game.
No, air raid.
Throw right over their asses. Just go right down the field, mow them down, build a big lead, take the crowd out of it, and that'll be that.
That is the one thing, too, watching West Virginia. They had a ton of success in the short passing game, so I'm guessing Nate Shieldhouse and those guys will pick up on that. At least I hope they will. Mm-hmm. The problem is, Chris, and you just hope Iowa State's not too stubborn, is BYU one of the worst rush defenses in college football. Kansas was too. You couldn't run against them. Couldn't run against Ohio. Couldn't run against Iowa. You really didn't run that well against Northern Iowa. Stop trying to do that. Short passing game. Then you'll be able to run football in the second half. And I truly believe Iowa State can go out there and win this thing by double digits.
Yep. Agree.
Okay, let's move on to the University of Iowa. Real quick, we're going to get into the quarterback stuff. Just real quick on Rutgers. The total right now in this game is down to 28. Last I saw on Circa. So I did a quick little dive on Rutgers defense because I knew it was good. I've watched them play, and they are ranked 20th in points per game allowed, 10th in yards per game allowed, 10th in yards per play allowed. So this is like a really good defense that Greg Schiano has coming into Iowa City. So, if you're logging into your Circa app and you're still scared by the 28, man, I'm going to ask Mike Palm tomorrow when I do my Locks podcast with him. I'm guessing this number really should be like 22 or 21.
I don't know how anyone, if you've watched what Iowa has done, take care of that pink eye. Go ahead. I don't know how anyone could take the over. I'm tired. I'm done thinking that anything is going to change. It's not.
Don't overthink this.
This is going to be a 10-7 game, a 12-9 game. This is not going to get 4 touchdowns. It's not going to happen. Unless there's some craziness on defense, special teams, something like that. I just don't see any way that this goes over the 28. No one's ever said that before because there's never been a total that low before. It used to be that 36, 37, that was as low as it goes. Especially in college football.
I remember
when you've got
those
so many. You've got totals out there that are in the 70s.
Those military games.
Yeah, even those aren't this low.
Iowa, Army,
I think,
Navy,
owns the top 5
snowing.
now. The top 5 totals of all time, the lowest 5, and they've all gone under. Adam says he took the alternate under of 24.5.
Genius.
Yeah, why not?
Brilliant.
Zach says he took the alternate 17.
You guys are sick. You know that? You're really, really, really sick, all of you. It's a good time to pub our friends from Circa, though. You're not going to get better odds than those guys, asshole.
It's true.
They don't screw you on the juice like the other books do. Circa Sports Iowa.
They just re-legalized sports wagering in Florida.
Really?
Yesterday? Yeah. This has happened like 5 different times. And each time it gets shut down a few days later. So we'll see on that. You mentioned how great Rutgers defense is, or how good they are. I would say they're great. Okay. Good. Does it matter? Does it really matter if they're the 20th best defense or the 100th best defense? When you're playing Iowa, does it really matter? Look what Northwestern did. They will make any defense look good. I think as long as you're not one of those elite teams like a Penn State or a Michigan and an Ohio State, I don't think it really matters.
You know, these Iowa games are so predictable now, too. You can really make a lot of money by live betting it.
Yeah, you've been all over that.
Because it really just comes down to when any of these teams get into the red zone, right? What happens there? Because they're only going to do it twice. And that's the game, right? Do you kick a field goal? Does Iowa block the field? It's like when Northwestern got that goal line. It was over. The game was over after that goal line stand. They weren't getting back there. And Iowa, to their credit, has been able to get out at least and play with leads in the first and second quarter. It feels like quite a bit. I haven't gone back and run the data, but it feels like they've been – it's almost like they're it sounds really stupid. They open it up more, I guess, in the first quarter, and then once they get a lead, then they just clamp
I think
down.
It's been clear that the scripted drive is often the best drive of the game for Iowa. And I read into that what you want. I mean, I don't know why they can't make any sort of adjustments throughout the game. Are we going to see Cooper DeJean in there on offense again? I would say unlikely unless it's for a snap or two like last game. But Kirk Ferentz was asked about the young Marco. How do you say his last name? Linais?
Linais?
So Kirk said this when asked about Marco, who was the backup quarterback last week, and Joey fell back to the
poor
the
Labus,
third string.
man. That poor son of a bitch.
Well, this week, the depth chart that came out, which you don't really read much into, that had Labus number 2. Anyway, Kirk says, Marco's done a good job. It's a position where we don't have a lot of depth or experience right now, so we're letting all 3 guys work. All 3 of them are doing a good job. I was surprised he said that. Because all we've heard from Ferentz is what a gap there is from Deacon Hill down to Joey Labus, and then from Joey Labus down to Marco. Does this mean...
Yeah, do you think this is a hint?
That they've opened this thing up in practice for some kind of a competition? No, it doesn't. Probably not. But it is different from what we've been hearing from him. And I'm thinking it might just be go ahead, tend to that pink eye. I'm thinking it might be just a case of the fact that the question was asked about Marco Lanise and not about Joey Labus. Like, what would he have said if they asked him about Labus? I don't think he would have said that they're all getting work in and they're all doing a great job. Do you? I think he would have reiterated how far ahead Deacon Hill is than all these guys. And how can you say that they're all doing a good job? Seriously, how can you say that when we've seen what Deacon Hill has done on the field, which is one of the worst quarterbacking jobs that we've ever seen in FBS football.
Yeah, really,
right?
Since they invented the forward pass.
Yes,
honestly,
it's been a full level, maybe 2 levels below what we saw from Spencer Petras last year. Yet he is clearly been, according to the coaches, clear number 1, and the other guys are a major step down. But now he says they're all doing a good job. Like in what way? Again, how? What are they doing?
Can I give you my kitchen refresh?
Sure.
I'll give you my refresh on the Hawks. You all, I'm going to be honest with you guys. It's prime time. Having a drink, we can just be honest with each other, right? You guys kind of made me sick last week.
Who did?
Yes, all of you.
Who, me?
Yeah.
In what way?
At this point, I just don't think the wins and the losses really matter that much for Iowa as far as what we're looking for next year. And let me explain to this, okay? And I know what the kickback is. You play to win the game. I understand all that. And that's what Ferentz is doing. Understood. You play who's in front of you. But let's look at Scott Docterman's list of realistic offensive coordinators. Okay?
I
promise I'm about to make a point.
Okay.
That Wisconsin guy, the volunteer guy who brought in Deacon Hill.
Oh, my God. And he was the first one listed. But I do appreciate Scott Docterman. He put in there realistic offensive coordinator. This isn't like wish list. This isn't pie in the sky. This isn't who fans should want. This is a list that he compiled of realistic offensive coordinators, guys who might actually say yes.
Dana Holgerson's not on this list. Paul Christ. All right. I'm just going to stop it right there, okay? I guess here's my point. If you go out there and you beat Rutgers, and by the way, my prediction for the game is 9-6. Iowa wins 9-6. If you go out there and win 9-6, I truly think, based on what happened during that bye week, you have Beth Getz and that administrative team's attention. And I'm talking to you, Iowa fans. They didn't fire the offensive coordinator because the team wasn't having a good season. They fired the offensive coordinator, I'm assuming, because they were tired of being the laughingstock of college football when it came to offense. My point to the fans is you have their attention. And if you go out there and just, I'm not
so you're
saying
pissed at the people that went out to Wrigley Field and drank all the beer and had a good time?
No.
You're saying they shouldn't have shown up?
You should absolutely cheer for your team to win, all that. But I guess my point is if you win again 9-6, nothing's really changed, right? Other than the way that you feel because you put another win in there.
Mm-hmm.
You have a very rare window here where Iowa actually, you have their attention. And they're going to make... And if they go 10-2 here and win, we're selling out, and you're going to Florida and there's 40,000 people going. Not that would happen.
Yeah,
probably
I don't think
wouldn't.
That's going to happen.
Then that's how the Wisconsin guy, the volunteer who brought in Deacon Hill, that's how he gets the job.
John Budemeyer, I think his name is. Like that's where my mind goes. Like, how could you possibly elevate someone that's already on the staff who's had any hand in these quarterbacks that one you've brought in, two you've failed to develop? How can the next choice be anybody who's had a hand in that? I don't think it should, and I hope that Beth Getz has said that Kirk Ferentz gets to pick the next guy. Like I hope that Beth Getz and President Barbara Wilson at least have some say in okay, but don't just give us the middle finger and promote some other guy within the staff.
You think this volunteer
staff is
guy
do the same thing
from Wisconsin's going to stand up to Kirk Ferentz and be like, "Hey, Kirk, I really think we should open things up"?
No. Now, Jonathan says that Kirk has issues, but I don't remember him saying there's a huge gap between Deacon Hill, Joey Labus. He didn't use the word gap. What he has consistently said throughout the last several weeks is that there is a clear number one. It's clear Deacon Hill is number one. He said, we're not insane. And then there's a step down to number two and number three. There were multiple steps there. It wasn't like he said Deacon Hill's number one and then the other guys. He said then two and then three.
Does he even have to say anything?
Who?
Doesn't just rolling Deacon Hill out there each and every goddamn week speak for itself? This Labus. Labus,
right.
There's no way Labus is on the roster for the bowl game.
No. I can't imagine that. I'm sure it'll be this Lanais. You didn't mention a couple of the other. There were five realistic offensive coordinators.
I was proving my point that it's the Wisconsin volunteer guy and Paul Christ were the first two guys.
Yeah, and Paul Christ has a nephew that's an offensive line coach at Iowa.
That would be the most.
I know.
Paul Christ is the biggest
both those
fraud in
guys
college
with
football
Wisconsin
since
ties.
Okay.
So there are three other ones. How about this one? David Ray. It's R-A-I-H. David Rye. This guy, I think he was a walk-on quarterback at Iowa 20 years ago. He was
fired.
He was the offensive coordinator at Vanderbilt in 2021 and got fired immediately. Then there's Tim Polasek, who was the offensive line coach at Iowa before going to Wyoming. He's the offensive coordinator there.
That's a decent hire.
Might be.
Yeah.
And I've talked with him. He's a good guy.
Feels like a decent
Seems like
hire.
he knows a lot. And the offensive line has gone to absolute hell since he's left. I mean, it kind of coincided around the same time of the Chris Doyle stuff. So I don't know, but he maybe, Wyoming has picked off some teams this season. They're not an offensive juggernaut though. They are. I've done Linez, I guess is how it's pronounced. Linez. Thank you, Iowa Meat Sweats. Marco Linez. I kept saying Lanais. I don't know.
He's a good-looking kid, though. He's big and strong.
Yeah.
A picture of him is impressive.
And then the last one, which I think is a little more intriguing, was Liddell Betts.
46, baby.
Any Iowa fan my age and older, they know all about Liddell Betts and what a great running back he was at Iowa. 4
Washington
straight
Redskins.
years. He was awesome. And he was a part of some pretty good offenses. And maybe he's a guy that would have Kirk Ferentz's ear a little bit more, might have the ability to do a little something different. He's been in the NFL. Maybe. But another guy that's on the staff right now, that's a part of this offensive disaster. So I thought it was a good job by Docterman not to because I've seen a lot of Iowa fans say, well, let's go out and get Ryan Grubb, I think that's his name, out at Washington because he has Iowa ties. And you think the offensive coordinator at Washington is going to come to Iowa to work for Kirk Ferentz? Oh, my God.
It's good whiskey.
Bobby says that Budemeyer was the one that offered Hill. And that, as you mentioned, you were the one that called it out immediately when that happened, Williams. That he basically handpicked him and brought him over. They were like a package deal.
Grant wants to know, what about Spencer Petras?
I would love it. I would love for it to be someone that hasn't been a part of this train wreck for the last few years.
Totally right. And you get what I'm saying with my kitchen refresh thing. I'm not telling you guys to root against your team. Absolutely not. Go out and drink your beer and have fun. But
so what are you telling us to do?
If you win 9-6, don't act like you won the goddamn Super Bowl, okay?
Who the hell is acting like that?
I don't know.
Are there people?
I've just been around these things long enough, and as long as the fans are selling the place out like you guys did all year, then change doesn't generally happen, right? This is a nuanced conversation, right? This isn't a black and white deal, but my point is, by making the move that they made when they made it, because we didn't think, at least I didn't, I won't speak for you, I didn't think that no matter what happened, if they were 10-2, that they would fire Brian Ferentz. I don't care what the contract said, whatever. I didn't think that he would be gone. I didn't. You have their attention. So if you go 9-3 and you're winning these games 9-6 or whatever, it still doesn't change what is looming, which is a change to the Big Ten where Iowa's going to need to evolve. And you have the people who make the decisions there are paying attention. That's all I'm saying. I don't know what I'm telling. I'm not telling fans. Fans can do whatever they want. If they want to go, and that's great. You only get. This is football. This isn't life or death. Thank God we don't live in Gaza Strip, right? This is supposed to be fun. If you want to go and watch the games, go watch the games. But the people who are paying attention have shown you they are paying attention.
Circle Herc says, listen here, I'm not taking advice from some old gunk eye on how to cheer for my team. Ed brings up a good point, though. Also happening this week. Yeah, go ahead. Tend to that pink eye. Go ahead.
Oh, my God, dude. It hurts so bad.
Ed mentions...
I just want to pour this bottle of Steeple Ridge in my eye and kill whatever is in there.
Ed mentions that for the second straight year, Iowa has lost a top commit in a class. Last year it was Caden Proctor. That was for this year's class. He was a 5-star. This week it was the top commit in the class of 25, another offensive lineman, Nick Brooks from Cedar Rapids, Kennedy. He committed a couple of months ago and now has decommitted.
Boy, 2 offensive linemen from the state.
Right. And that is your wheelhouse. That is your breadbasket. That is what you've always been known for, what you've always been able to do, to get, even when things weren't great. You could always count on this. And now these guys are having second thoughts and going somewhere else. And I don't blame him. I mean, the offensive line's been a mess.
They have been, Chris, but I will go to my grave and say that it's more the scheme than it is the individual players Iowa has. It's so hard to play line when the defense knows what's coming.
Yeah, I
know.
And
this wasn't the case even 5 years ago, right? Like, I mean, the offense has always been a thing. The offense, I get it. Like, but it wasn't this bad. Like, I find it hard to believe that Ferentz and all these guys just forgot, like, what it takes to develop offensive linemen, and all of a sudden they don't have an eye for talent up there. Like, I truly think that the scheme is so damn bad. And these offensive linemen, like, it used to be, I'm going to go to Iowa and get to the pros. Well, that's right. Even stunting just a little bit now.
One of his quotes that I was reading when he committed was that he said that Iowa told him he's going to come and be the next Tristan Wirfs. How long has it been since Tristan Wirfs was at Iowa? I mean, that was 3 years ago at least. I mean, there just hasn't really been, obviously you had the center a couple of years ago that was great. But you haven't had a great tackle, and no one really to point to these last few seasons. You had to go all the way back to Wirfs, who, I mean, when did Tampa Bay draft him?
Well, it was when Brady went there.
2020?
Same year Brady went there, right?
I think so.
Yeah.
So it's disappointing, but I don't blame the kids one bit. Not one bit. I think it'd be really hard right now to, especially with the change. Like, you have no idea who the offensive coordinator is going to be.
Yeah,
you have no idea how long Kirk is going to be there. Like, he says he wants to be there for a couple more years at least. Like, do you really think, if you're committing right now, like, just say you're that kid, you're in the class of 25, Kirk might coach what? You might coach you for 1 year, maybe 2. Like, you really think he's going to be there at the end of your career? I think that might also make recruiting a little bit tougher.
I know what's going to happen. Paul Chryst is going to get the offensive coordinator job, and he will be elevated to head coach when Kirk Ferentz retires.
I mean, look, Chryst accomplished quite a bit at Wisconsin, but he was never very well liked, and was really, and one of the reasons why is he was really stuck in his old ways, and it sounds like exactly what we've had. I mean, so maybe it's a perfect fit in Kirk Ferentz's mind.
I'm pretty convinced that Don Hassel could, not anymore, but in the past, win 7 or 8 games at Wisconsin every year.
Why is it so much easier at Wisconsin than it is at Iowa now?
That's a good question. It's a good question.
I don't know that it. I don't know that it will be. I mean, Iowa's winning against them.
They have more. Well, they have more high school prospects, and they don't have another D1 institution. Those would be two.
Yeah, they don't have an Iowa State to compete against. That's for sure.
And but Iowa high school football has gotten a lot better in the last 20 years. When I started at Scout.com, like, there was nothing. It was nothing, and it was really when, like, Tyler Sass and those guys came around where it started to really pick up, and now it's like a whole different deal. But anyways. All right, so let's give predictions. We're each picking Iowa State to win, right? I'll go.
I am, yeah. I think Iowa State will win. I don't know if it's going to be as easy as I think it will be, or as I'm in my mind thinking it's going to be, because they are a different team at home.
27-20. Push.
27-20. Iowa State. Okay.
Yep.
I'm going to go 24-16 Iowa State.
We'll tell you the one thing that worries me a smidge is, I did the math on this today. BYU only runs on like 43% of its possessions, which is like 119th in the country. What did Iowa State struggle with drastically last week? Pass defense, getting to the quarterback. We don't know the status of Jeremiah Cooper back there at safety, so that is a legitimate concern for me.
You went 9-6 in the Iowa game, right?
Yeah, 9-6. Iowa. Hawks win 9-6.
I'm going to go 6-0 Iowa.
What did they beat? Oh, 6-5. Isn't that what they beat South Dakota State last year?
No, 7, because they got to 7, remember?
They got 7.
They got to 7 with a safety.
Yes.
Two safeties and a field goal.
They were up 5-3. Yeah, at one point. All right. 9-6 and 6.
I'm going to go, Zach, I'm going to do what you just said. I'm going to play the alternate under 10 line.
MGN 74, Iowa 8-3. Cyclone Fanatic says 6-4, 3 safeties to 2 safeties.
I'm embarrassed at how long it's taken me just to accept what this is going to be. Like, what was I thinking saying that Iowa was going to score in the 20s last week?
Do you remember last week? You're like, oh, I think they're going to open it up.
I don't think I said open it up. I just said I think they're going to score in the 20s. They're coming off the bye week. Kirk is all fired up because they're showing his son the door. He's going to throw a middle finger up there. We're going to see something. We did see DeJean on offense.
I think we'll see more of that, honestly. Did you watch Cooper's interview?
No.
Because they're drilling him, and Ferentz, I get Ferentz's point. He's like, Kirk is basically, I'm paraphrasing, saying, well, our offense fucking sucks. What's putting him out there going to do? Where we're winning games with defense and special teams,
I don't
we
think
need him
he's
out.
saying it like that. I really don't think. I don't think that Kirk Ferentz thinks the offense is as bad as we all know it is. I think what Kirk Ferentz is saying is we're so good on defense and special teams, and we have to be in order to win. If we start putting him out there on offense and risk defense and special teams, we're going to be in big trouble, and that's true. Like you can't afford to miss him, especially on special teams. I think he's even more important on special teams than he is on defense.
He had a little shit-eating grin on his face when they were asking him about it today. I don't know what that means. He may just be a really happy individual. All right, there's your picks. Real quick, before we get to our top 3 games of the weekend, Jordan wants to know, he's watching on Facebook, Hassel, are you still only washing your hair once a month?
No. I have a very sensitive scalp, and I learned that I can only go 2 to 3 days without washing my hair. Go ahead, tend to that pink eye. I tried stretching it out. I think most people can stretch it out. I was told, Aiden, our wonderful producer extraordinaire, Aiden, he said that I changed his life by telling him what my dermatologist told me, is that you just don't need to wash your hair. And most people don't, but I have very sensitive skin. And if I don't wash it every 2 to 3 days, I start getting these red lesions all over my scalp.
Like pimples?
No, they're not pimples. They're like it's like a rash.
Herpes?
It could be scalp herpes.
Is it from going down?
I saw a porno in college once where a guy's bald head was completely missing. I'll let you figure out where it was. I saw it in a dorm room at Northern Iowa. Oh, God.
Looks like the Bulldogs are going to get a win.
Oh, we haven't even talked college basketball.
We'll get to that. Let's do our top 3 games of the weekend, and then we'll get to some hoops. You can start.
All right. Scott says it's pink head. Pink lips, pink eye, pink head. And no, it did not have, it was not in the dorm with the priests. I told you it was at Northern Iowa. I was visiting a friend who's getting married this weekend. All right, number 1 game.
That'll be a hell of a wedding speech.
He had a bald, he was totally bald, and he must have like rubbed what's the some kind of lube all over his head. And completely submerged his his bald head inside of a woman. He did. Oh, God. It's an image I'll never get out of my head.
You had just left your dorm room across the hall from these priests.
No,
and you jaunted over to northern Iowa, and they ruined you.
Oh. And then in the same night, I saw one. There was a Nerf ball. It was regulation sized Nerf ball, and it totally disappeared. And then,
what did you guys do? Just sit around watching pornography?
Stuff. It was wild. It was weird, wild stuff.
That's a really weird thing to do.
My first game that I'm looking forward to this week, my top 3. I just saw Missouri this week. I'm really impressed with Missouri. They hung in there with Georgia the entire game. They had a chance. And they're hosting Tennessee. This is basically a pick 'em. The comments are out of control. This is why you have to watch this. You come watch live. You can interact with Mike Williams and Don Hassel in the comments. And that's how you get pink eye, kids. Anyway, Tennessee is a 1-point favorite at Missouri. Tennessee still has a shot in the SEC East because they still get to play Georgia, and I think they host Georgia. So win this game, beat Georgia, and away we go. Okay, that is CBS. I think 3:30 Eastern time. It was regular. It was I'm saying it was a regular. Grant is wondering what is a regulation Nerf ball size. I'm saying like it's regulation size. Is it the one
that had the stick at the end? That makes the sound.
No. That's a real skinny one. This was a thicker one. It's like the size of a real football. That's what I'm saying. It was that size. And okay, so we can move on. That's my first game.
Blocking out the comments from now
on. Second game. Oh, I might have stolen this from you.
Yeah, you did. This is one of the great games in college football ever.
FSU hosting Miami. Like being down here with all of these Florida State fans and talking to them about the schedule. Go ahead, tend to that pink eye. Go ahead. For those listening on the podcast, every time I say that, he is dabbing his eye with some kind of goopy cloth that's just covered in crust.
It's honestly disgusting. Just move on.
This was the game everybody was scared of. Like I'd ask them, okay, what's the game for you? Is it this or that? Is it Duke's coming in? They're a top 20 team. Is it maybe ACC championship game against Drake May in North Carolina? No, it's Miami. Even though they're 14-point favorites at home, they are scared of Miami. This is the big rivalry. This is it, and that place is going to be rocking.
Good read. Well done.
That is my number 2 game. My number 1 game, self-explanatory here. I took the big one. Michigan, 4.5-point favorites at Penn State. Finally, Michigan is playing someone with a pulse. Okay, Penn State didn't really show up against Ohio State. That was not an impressive performance. They couldn't do anything offensively, but they've got Michigan at home now. Let's see what the Wolverines are made of. Let's see how good they are.
Are you taking in Dave Z's thing? Are you going to take the points in the home team?
Yes.
Yeah, I think I am too.
I'll take Penn State plus 4.5. Absolutely.
This Harbaugh thing is getting crazy too. I can't even keep up with.
I'm so sick of it. I'm sick of it. It's something new, but it's not like nothing is like. Oh my god! Like
I just want to know.
Everybody's doing something similar. I don't know that anybody went to that length, but like I'm not going to go and throw stones at Michigan when I have no clue what everybody else is doing. And it's coming out that, there's other teams that were trying to help other teams that are playing Michigan out.
I just love how petty it's gotten, but with the Ohio State stuff, it's just great. It's just college football is the most.
I'm glad you like it. I don't like it.
No, I don't like it. I just like. I was really bored with it, but now Michigan's basically saying, "I know you are, but what am I?" Back to everybody. It's gotten a little bit entertaining.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
My top 3, Pac-12.
Yeah.
Hey, Utah at Washington. Washington has not been that good lately.
They haven't been good. They haven't been good since I saw them survive against Oregon. And I mean, like, they should not have won that game.
This will be on my locks of the week.
Oregon is the favorite to win the Pac-12.
This will be on my picks of the week with Utah taking the points here. Utah's defense is really good. Penix has not been the same for a while. I don't know what's going on there. But I'm really interested to see how that plays out in Seattle. Oklahoma State, you covered this, Chris, on Monday's show. One of the great stories of college football. I'm putting them on major upset alert here, even though it wouldn't be a major upset. They're only a 2.5-point favorite at Central Florida, which should tell us everything we need to know.
Is UCF, are they still winless in the Big 12?
No, they beat
they finally got off the schneid? Okay.
Which, does that count as a Big 12 win?
I mean, but in the standings it does, but yeah, they still haven't beaten a old school Big 12 team.
Just think about it like this, though. It's just how like game of inches this is. If they get that 2-point conversion against Oklahoma and win, then we're looking at it as, oh, you got your quarterback back, and you've won 2 of 3. You just look at the game totally differently. So I'm on major upset alert here for Oklahoma State. And then Ole Miss at Georgia. You've seen Georgia up close. I love Ole Miss. I follow them. They're probably my favorite SEC program. They're really good. Again, they're another team. It's just like a couple plays away from Bama, like for being undefeated, and then you're right there in the playoff category. This is scary for Georgia, but Chris, we've seen it time and time again where this Georgia team, they rise to that opponent, right? And then a nationally ranked team comes in and they tend to play well. I don't know, like you saw him last week, but this game's intriguing to me because I think Kiffin's really good. He'll have him ready, but my gut tells me Georgia probably wins this thing by 14. But Ole Miss, talent-wise, is pretty damn good up there in the SEC.
Georgia did not play very well at all last week, especially in the first half. Fans and just being up there in the press box, hearing conversations before, during, and after the game, they did not play well, but they did enough late. They came up with a couple interceptions to stave off that upset bid by Missouri. I feel like this might be a big bounce back where Georgia maybe says, okay, we are the number 1 team in the country. And they win that game, my guess is they'd probably leapfrog Ohio State in the college football playoff rankings.
That's my feel. I think they win this by 2 scores.
I want to go back for a second, though. Did you just say Ole Miss is your favorite SEC team?
I said probably.
Your mom is going to beat you with a cock.
Right there with the cocks, obviously. Yes. But after going to Oxford, it was just so cool. Yes, I would. I
have not been to Oxford. I really want to get there. That's an interesting game with Kiffin.
Yeah.
I think Texas A&M almost beat them last week, though. Like Texas A&M had them down with 2 minutes to go at Ole Miss.
I would play Georgia in that one. They're begging you, especially at 10.5. They want you to take. They want you to take Ole Miss.
Yeah.
Okay, real quick. 2 Guys Named Chris, presented by Fairway Meat and Grocery. We're in the Channel Seed Studios. Basketball started this week. Iowa and Iowa State both looked really, really good.
You were at the Iowa State game, right?
Yeah, I was there, man. That Momcilovic is a freaking stud, man. He's a pro. So, but the real notable thing were the crowds. The Iowa crowd drew a ton of attention. The Iowa State one was what you would expect. Look at this picture that Mike Halas posted of Carver Hawkeye Arena.
And
total opposite of the women's
what, a
game.
Couple minutes before tip.
Yeah. What?
I would say that there's probably, at least in the Fran era, I would say this is probably the most apathy going into a season that I've noticed from the fan base. So you're taking it back to the Todd Licklider era as far as going into a season, how the fan base feels. There's no excitement. Sure, you've been to 4 tournaments in a row, but what have you done there? I think the fans know there's a lid on the success for Fran McCaffrey. And, 68 teams make it. It's not like it's a huge accomplishment to make the tournament. Now, I will say, I think they've overachieved in a couple of those seasons, and they might do it again this year. The official attendance was 7,653, which is 51% capacity. There were probably, 2,000 to 3,000 fans there? But why are you going? What are you crossing that bridge for if you're a student in early November to watch Iowa just beat up on a Summit League team?
It's just so different. I can't speak to it.
Iowa State had 13,360. That's 93% capacity.
And it was crazy pregame. And they were playing a considerably worse team than North Dakota.
It did surprise me to hear you say how kind of raucous it was.
It was
for
nuts
Iowa State.
pregame.
And I do think that Iowa State fans approach the basketball season differently. Like, just take
Absolutely.
me and you, for instance. Like, I don't care about college basketball right now at all. You couldn't wait for it. And I think Iowa State fans have more of that in them than Iowa fans do.
I'll tell you what, running Cyclone Fanatic for as long as I have, there's nothing that moves the needle on Cyclone Fanatic like basketball recruiting.
Really?
It's a year-round thing there. Like, we're just people will – and I mean, look at the history of the programs, but like factoring in football. I mean, there's been a lot more years where Iowa State fans in late September are just counting down until basketball so you could root for I'm sure that has something to do with it.
There's just not – there's not a star that they're looking to go see. The freshman class, they performed well in this first game, but there wasn't like a couple new guys that you just had to see out there on the floor. Now, if Iowa starts winning and putting together a good season, the fans will show up for big Big Ten games. But
they won't show up for the Tuesday night against Penn State, though.
No. And I also think that it probably takes something away that all these fans are going to make plans to go see Caitlin Clark and the women's team. I think there are some fans that'll say, well, every game sold out. There's some fans that'll say, well, I already spent all this money on women's season tickets. I'm not going to spend any more to go to a men's game to see them play a team they're favored by 20 against. I'm not going to go to Carver back-to-back nights because I just went to see the women's team last night. I'm not going to go again to see the men's game. There's only so many fans of Iowa. There's only so many fans to go around. If they're going to go to every women's game, are they all going to? They're not all going to go to the men's game too, even if you're a men's fan.
It is just different. I can't put my finger on it. But the Iowa State student section was full like an hour before tip. Well, at least the lower level, not all the way to the top, obviously.
Yeah, I know.
It's just different. Like
we'll see as it goes on this season. It ramps up, and as one of our commenters, Big Mage, points out, Saturdays during the Big Ten season, Iowa fans do show up.
Yeah. You guys have a terrible TV contract that makes you play those Sunday games, and I hate that, man. I would despise that, especially it's like Super Bowl Sunday and you have a Big Ten game. It's like, God.
It's bad. I heard Jamie Pollard on the radio this week on Murph and Andy saying that the Big 12 is no longer going to play Sunday sporting events because of BYU. I mean, I get not having BYU play on Sunday.
So,
because
like
they
the
don't.
women's, they're not going to.
But yeah, that's what I'm wondering. He wasn't clear. Like, is Iowa State never going to have a sporting event in conference on a Sunday?
I hope not, because the women do really well on Sunday afternoons. Been to a lot of women's basketball games.
Well, they're not going to be playing BYU on Sunday, and the way that he made it sound is that they're not going to play at all on Sundays. In fact, they said that the women's tournament, the championship game now, is on a Monday.
I didn't hear that part. I didn't hear it.
Cole says that it's only against BYU, and I hope that's the case. It's not the way it was presented. But I hope that's the case. I mean, that would be ridiculous if nobody's playing on Sunday.
Yeah, like Iowa State women,
like it.
Iowa State women have a game against Drake on this upcoming Sunday.
But that's not a conference game. I'm just wondering, like, is there a conference game scheduled for a Sunday? There has to be. I mean, you can't just have nobody do anything on a Sunday.
It would be less visibility for the women, I would think. There are men's games on Sundays, but not nearly as many. Mm-hmm. Like, think about, like, middle of January, right? Like,
yeah.
Actually, even later than that, middle of February after the Super Bowl. There's a lot of those women's games that are really high-interest games that get better television slots. because they're playing on Sunday.
Oh, boy, you're trying to make up for what you did on Monday's show.
What did I do on Monday's show?
We gave season predictions for the Iowa men.
Oh, my. Here we go.
The Iowa women and the Iowa State men. Go ahead, tend to that pink eye. And you didn't you didn't say one word, not one word about the Iowa State women.
Why are you doing this?
There were people that noticed.
There was one guy who was being a jerk about it.
I'm giving you the floor.
You want my prediction?
I know. I want you to apologize.
I'm not apologizing for anything.
Okay, then just give me a prediction and then apologize.
Well, I mean, they're playing like 5 freshmen. They're going to have a rough year. By their standards. I hope that they can get like on the bubble to the NIT type deal. But they're playing like 5 freshmen. This is a rebuilding year for Finley. God, they're fun to watch. They're fun to watch. It's fun watching all these freshmen run around out there and shoot threes and stuff like that. Did you watch them on Monday, Matt, the Iowa State women? It was a blast. No, he didn't watch
No,
it.
I didn't.
It was awesome.
Would you rather, right now, if I gave you an opportunity to go to Hilton to watch the Iowa State women play
Don't do this to me.
South Dakota,
Okay.
or the Iowa men play South Dakota at Carver,
Iowa State women.
you'd rather watch that game?
Yes. That's easy.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Van Wink did do some digging, and
There are some women's games on Sundays, but men, I don't think, ever play Sundays historically.
But the bottom line is, it's just games or meets or events that might involve BYU. Those will not be on Sundays. But if Iowa State is playing Oklahoma State, you can play on Sunday.
That's fair.
Yeah.
All right, Hassel, you are off to Texas A&M.
Yep, there you go. College
and
Station.
You're going to go out and yell with those guys on Friday night?
I don't think I'll be midnight yelling. I think I would get secondhand embarrassment from those guys. Have you seen those videos?
Yeah.
It's really
not really
weird.
my cup of tea. I don't think I'd enjoy it.
It's bizarre. It's almost cult-like.
Yeah, the one guy went viral last year. Remember that?
He's like, so who are they playing this Mississippi State? And they call themselves the Bulldogs. I think that's bull honky. Bulldogs aren't even the best dogs.
They do this for every game?
I'd rather have a golden retriever. Yeah, every home game, I think.
It's horrible.
It's so bad. What's this guy?
Our have in common. All are in bread. A-O Army. Army.
Wow.
It's
Got
bad,
story
man.
for you, Ags. One day, there was this group of 3 useless, no good Alabama fans. And they made their way to the holy land of College Station, Texas.
Okay,
Now,
get
these
this thing.
Bama fans
Are we gonna
wanted
watch
to stir
this
up
whole
some
thing?
beef with the Ags. So they came up with a brilliant idea to steal the ring that had been to the moon.
Oh, God. Enough of this. My God. And their mascot is an elephant. Elephants aren't even cute. Are they? No! Oh, God.
Let's get out of here.
Let's
Appreciate
skedaddle.
all our-
So what are you
all
going
of
to
our
do
great
tomorrow
sponsors.
morning? You're going to have all this free time on Thursday morning.
Probably
we
going to have to go
recorded
to the
tonight.
doctor to take care of this pink eye.
What do you think he's going to do? You think he's going to squeeze the pink out of it?
Hope so. Something.
What if he
Matty
looks in
Van
your
Winkle.
eye and he says, yep, just like I thought. Herpes. Again. That's not pink eye. That's herpes.
This is what you get when you put us on in primetime, everybody. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening on the Iowa Everywhere podcast. From Maddie Van Winkle, Chris Hassel, I'm Chris Williams. Have a great weekend.